two, three.
Hello and most welcome to a little lecture about meditation and deconstruction. What is meditation? It's quite a complicated thing. Far from the idea propounded by the Beatles once upon a time in the 60s, it is just to sit down and cross your legs and shut your eyes. Meditation, it is quite complicated, not easy to reach. And if you don't have the right attitude, the right posture, it will develop into a self conscious neglect of both body and mind. Could easily dwell into depression or tardiness of thinking, lethargy, because you're just sitting down doing nothing. A true meditation is active. A true meditation is something, as I would say, and claim in this very lecture, something deconstructive. What am I pointing to? Well, both in the annals of meditation, for instance, the Madhyamika literature, remember Nagarjuna, the Indian philosopher of renowned character, who propounded that the extremes should be avoided and that you should keep a sort of a mid-course. What is this mid-course? Well, in deconstruction, it's also to be avoided to be too far into truth or too far into falsehood. Somewhere in between the polarities, there you find a true path. In meditation, that could be named calmness of mind or one-mindedness in a positive way, that the mind is allowed to work and function as one whole, one directed unit. If that is something that is achieved, I bet you meditation will be a restful training. Something that, of course, takes an effort to start, and often you need to put some energy into the actual doing, a focus. But you will be heavily rewarded by a relaxed, more directed mind that doesn't strive to the differences of centeredness or complete off-centeredness. Instead, somewhere in the middle. What is a stressed mind, you can ask? I think that could be helpful to understand meditation and deconstruction. A stressful mind is a mind that leaps into oppositions. Something is either really bad or something is really, really good. Almost too good to be true. And it's this movement from one extreme to another that is stress, also in thinking. In the Beatles induced meditation, I would call it, there is no exactness and there is no knowledge, because meditation needs to be heavily directed and informed. They always just relax. No, it's a bit more to it than that, actually. Much more, I'd say. There's a lot more going on in meditation than just relaxation. Indeed, it is. What is it then? Well, most importantly, you have this directedness that doesn't come from the extremes. It's very easy to hold a posture or an attitude of being extreme. It's much, much harder to go in between, to keep both opportunities open. I would say there is a close connectedness to the left hemisphere. The left hemisphere often only works with these extremes, the polarities. Either something is completely untrue, false, or it's completely true. The left hemisphere deals with facts and rejects myths, magic, for instance. Everything that is not 100% true, relationable, or proven. As a bit analytical, philosophically said, an absolute truth. If it's not an absolute truth, it cannot be used for the left hemisphere. Whereas this more easygoing, off-centeredness is that it accepts both true and untrue. It's a core, and that core goes through the body. It's a literal core as well as a metaphorical core. Remember Lakoff Johnson. All these hefty metaphors resides in the body. They could be called metaphors, they could also be called chakras. Could be called energy. Or in West we have to make do with not being tired or being energetic. The Chinese talk about the qi, Japanese ki, or the Indian prana. That energy comes only when you have this off-centeredness, when you have something in between, when you don't rose into criticism. Criticism is something implicitly bad because it takes one of the extremes as its core or foundational posture. And then you will be off-centered. You will be leaning to the east or leaning to the west. Being centered, it's much more. It is something that gives strength to everything. It strengthens the organism. Once you learn to sort of let go of the extremes, it's a learning process. It takes time, and you need to let it take time. I have more of these extremes here. One-eyedness, that you see only things from one perspective. For instance, you only see things from your subjective side. You only have one-sidedness is another one. And although both of these complies with the one, they are not a wholesome thing. It is not a whole. This one is an excluding one. I think exclusion is a pretty good word. I actually came to that realization now, that the left stressed, non-calm mind, the aroused mind, is too much into this extreme of one only, exclusion. The excluding mind, I will call it. Remember modern man. I think here's a good example actually. Modern man, he tries out something for some time and said, this is absolutely fantastic. I will do only this for the rest of my life. Or I do golf. Or I do this very popular thing that went around here in Sweden a couple of years ago. Whatever it was called, but it was similar to tennis. Paddle. It was called paddle. Everyone did paddle. Paddle was the new thing. And now no one does it. All Sweden is full of empty playgrounds for paddle. It's a sad thing, but we are like that. We do in one thing to an extreme for such a long time, and then we skip it completely, and then we go into something different. Isn't that crazy? Remember the Romans, they did only one thing for their whole life. That meant that they didn't go off center. They remained within the direction. So it's a very important thing to remain. Now we focus maybe to what we remain in. We remain in this or that, we do paddle, we do ice hockey, or we do gymnastics, or we do calisthenics, or we do statistics, or whatever we do. It is much more important to stay in the same path. Because you slowly, second, minute, hour, day by day, you build up your strength. And this will help you to exclude less. Less exclusion. So a meditative mind, once I've done some meditation, I will find that my mind is not as excluding as before. It is not as stern. It is not as stiff-necked. I think you get my drift there, Kalle, as well. It is not as sharp in a bad sense. So when I go out from a meditation, I am more embracive. I embrace more things. It doesn't mean that I say yes to everything, but it means I can take time to listen and I don't prejudge. I do not prejudge something. It's less biased. Of course, it's a very hard thing to describe. We need to be careful with all. This could easily be interpreted being a defense of the left hemisphere. But less biased is like more flexible, not as harsh. I think the term harsh is good. Never ever go into meditation. Never ever do that by force. It should always be 100% from the center. What do we find in the center? We find the free mind, the free will. You find your inner want. What do you really want to do? You want it with your whole being, with your center. So, oddly enough, the deconstruction gives actually seed or birth to this new centeredness. A centeredness that is more bodily, not as high up in the category. What do I mean by that? Well, if you meditate, don't go too high up. You need to lower your consciousness. In Japan, China, India, they talk about Saika tendon or Tantien, or the chakra here below the solar plexus. Go down. There you find security. There you find true centeredness. A centeredness that is not based on exclusion. And I think I got a good example of. If I define myself that I am Hans, I am a non-socialist, I am a non-vegetarian, or a non-footballist. Try to lower the laugh, go down. Yes, much better. Där gjorde vi alla se. That's okay. Yeah. No. Try to keep off a nice course, like a ship. A ship, if it goes like this, maybe not keep to its course. Of course, you need to sail against the wind. So it's a tricky business there. But you do both things and you get this centeredness. But if I define, I don't know how to spell it, centeredness. If you define yourself in what you are not, this exclusion, then you will always be off center. You will be dependent. I call that that everything is co-joined. So the fullness of the full truth is always dependent on falsehood. For its definition, for its sustenance. And if I make myself too defined by what I am not, this is not true centeredness. So I am not this, I am not that. I can give an example now. Everybody despises, especially here in Sweden, Trump. It's a bad thing to define yourself that you're non-Trump, because then you don't have a true self. You will be much more able to claim yourself, your views, if you center yourself in what you are, not what you're not. You are already letting energy going out. And the same applies for meditation. What can meditation heal? Take, for instance, an ordinary day. You have a row with your boss. You start shouting. If you go to meditation, you understand him or her better. Doesn't mean that you sort of go on his or her side. It means only that you can understand him or her. It's not the same thing. Remember, you go on a thin line if you want to go to meditation. It's very hard to define. And especially since we are Westerners, we are not equipped with the right language. Meditation is not a thing of the West, although Beatles claim that. Although I think with deconstruction, we can find a path to go into meditation. It also takes a lot of humor, I'd say, because what is a biased person or a biased mind? It's a humorless, doesn't have any humor. Therefore, that sort of mind cannot claim its existence with some energy or some prana or some ki. It's very off-centered. Today, we are so much, especially the academia, the neo-academia or politics, we are so going into extremes. It's so clear to now, this today, that we already define ourselves and we're not, and we are supposed to be angry about what we are not. Attack. All this aggression leads to that energy seeping out of you. You spend useless mental, spiritual energy in hating, disliking things. Even such a thing that could be an object even. To make an extreme example. I hate this object. I hate my shoes. Something like that. The more embracive, wholeness attitude also invites more relations. So things do not get as isolated. I would say non-atomizing. Or, no idea how that's spelled. Non-particularness, not so much fragmented. Everything is fragmented today. Go to the institutions and you see 50 subjects and they all claim all these subjects has nothing to do with the body. Centeredness. It doesn't matter how centered you are to listen to a lecture. That's nonsensical. Everything matters of your centeredness. If you're sitting in a slouch, you will not get the message. You will not understand. If the professor is slouched, non-centered, there will be no message. There will be nothing to learn. In the end, that will be something that is dependent on polarities. If you build a web of polarities, that web will be exactly like one of those paper houses made of cards, a house of cards. If you remove one, they're all too much codependent. Everything would fall. Or a thin thread in a specific cloth. If you start drawing it happened to me once upon a time. It was an exclusive cloth. I started drawing a thread and everything disappeared in the end. It was a bit of a disaster because it was very expensive. If we build too much on extremes, you will be building that thread. You have no substance, you have no core, and you are a bit non-bodied. I think this is also related to, I will take that in the next lecture or another lecture. It's superficial. So the polarities are also superficial polarities. Usually just say, inside your own soul, oh, I'm not into that, or I hate that, I dislike that. That is superficial as well. You don't enter the views of the other person or the other ideology or a book. Being in a meditative state, the calmer mind literally calms those polarities down and you go down into a lower state of consciousness. You go into the delta waves or the gamma waves or the theta waves. Once you're in the theta waves, you're more abrasive. And let me really stress this. That does not mean non-thinking. Too often meditation is confused with stop thinking or something like that. It's the quality of thinking that we're trying to achieve here. Superficial, polar thinking is a waste of energy and it's non-decisive. Let's get into the core instead. And if you do that, meditation could be a wonderful bud, like a lotus bud. I love the lotus as a metaphor for meditation. It's one of the best uses for any metaphor I come upon. It will open up and turn into a beautiful, beautiful flower. From a scented bud, it opens up in all directions. And meditation is to be recentered. Go back to your true origin, your core of your existence, where you find truth, calmness, and safety. So when you afterwards you walk around in the world, you will be safer, not too prone to bias, over analyzing, which is also a sort of prejudice. If you overanalyze, too much superficial thinking, and more deep theta or gamma thinking, inclusive thinking, a bit like relational quantum mechanics, if you like, just to give an example. So meditation could be alpha and omega for a better life, lead to a harmony, and of course it's connected to stress, anxiety, and depression as well. Why is that? Well, we know that if you strive between the extremes, you will tire yourself. From that mental or spiritual tiredness comes depression, inevitably. Because you drain yourself. In the end, you have no energy. If you spend the whole day being upset, rejecting, being harsh, you're actually not being as harsh to other things as you're being harsh to yourself. You're spending your own energy, no one else's, by disliking. And it's despicable in this modern world that we actually ask people to despise things, to hate things, to waste loads of valuable energy to become more logocentric, more extreme, and less encompassing. Rejection, rejection, rejection. That seem to be the main thing today. Hate and rejection. Those are not paths to understanding, and they also lead to undirectedness. It could seem that a sail or a banner that's set on a flagpole, it seems to have some direction, but sea is actually dependent on the wind. So it doesn't have a core. The wind will take it there, the wind will take it here, the wind will take it down, and then will it take it up. And you never know what will happen from moment to moment. See the modern man in a nutshell. Meditation, it's the opposite of that, without being in opposition. It's a fruitful, calm, soothing. I will use the word soothing. You soothe your system and you rejuvenate. This is not Beatlesque mumbo jumbo. I actually mean this. I truly believe if you have a deconstructed mindset when you go into meditation, I think that the mindset you have when you enter into meditation is extremely important. If you rush yourself into that, the whole meditation will be wasted. But you do it with this core, I really want it. I want this calmness. I think we can find a wholeness there. Oneness, wholeness. And whole is also related to health. To be whole, to be healthy, to be happy. Why, thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.